In summer 2019, I was able to fulfill my weebish dreams of traveling to Japan with Olivet College as a cultural studies class. On May 2nd, 2019, myself and some fellow Olivet students and alumni met at Detroit Metropolitan Airport, where we then had a layover flight at the Toronto airport for continuing the 17-hour flight to Haneda Airport.
Camera on me. Hi!
The airport was under heavy construction and was tripling in size as Japan prepared itself for the now non-existent Tokyo Olympics. Upon arriving in Tokyo, we stumbled jet-lagged to our hotel, rested ourselves for a little bit, then went out for our first Japanese meal. A fair number of Japanese restaurants feature open grills where you can cook your own meat to your desired meatiness.
What?
I'm somebody
Yeah.
Party time.
So this is our grill, and that's theirs.
Party time.
After dinner, Nina and I visited a nearby 7-Eleven just to, check it out, and happened to stumble across their hentai section. We arrived in Japan during Platinum Week, a rare holiday that follows Golden Week, celebrating the coming to power of Japan's new emperor, Emperor Naruhito. During this holiday, we got the rare experience of traveling on near-empty Tokyo train stations. The first stop on our adventure through Japan was to visit a sumo stable and watch wrestlers train to compete in Japan's national sport. After that, our next stop was visiting the Imperial Palace, which, when we got there, we were kind of curious on why there was a decent number of news crews and a lot of Japanese policemen setting up what appeared to be a giant line queue. Our guide, I, explained that the very next day was one of the few days that Japanese citizens could visit the Emperor on Nijubashi Bridge, but our schedule didn't really work out, and we got to explore more of Tokyo. I'm fine with that. After admiring the palace in the distance in some amazing tourist fashion, we went on to explore some more of the parks that surrounds the palace. It was here that I found the only drinking fountains in all of Japan. To increase public health, Japan uses vending machines to serve fresh, clean water bottles. But the problem was I didn't want to spend $50 throughout the trip to have fresh water so I stay hydrated and didn't dehydrate. Tourist tip, and when going to Japan, I found that refilling water bottles at bathroom sinks is a way cheaper alternative, and it's clean drinking water. For lunch, we had a cooking class in a Japanese house where we got to learn some traditional Japanese cooking techniques, such as making tamagoyaki, or Japanese rolled omelet. Rather than flopping the egg over once like us lazy Americans, tamagoyaki is folded numerous times until it forms a yummy log of egg. After filling up on eggs and rice, we took the bus to the Meiji Shrine, which is dedicated to Emperor Meiji. This shrine, like many others that we visit later in the trip, have a series of torii gates that symbolize the journey of passing from the physical to the spiritual world. Along the way, barrels of sake and wine are stacked to be consecrated here to the spirit of world peace and amity. The temple was crowded with tourists and Japanese citizens alike, visiting to hear fortunes and leave prayers. After Naruto running out of the spirit world, we toured Takashita Street, which is a fashion hub of Harajuku. I had a good time observing the clashing arts and graffiti of the road, the several amusing and strange shirts, as well as tons of anime merch in a shop that happened to be on the second floor above a lingerie store. I wish I had bought this odd shirt that I found while I was there because, one, I didn't see any other states featured by Japanese fashion, and two, I don't think the Japanese really understand the state that Michigan is in. To finish the day, we walked from our hotel through bustling Kabukicho, Shinjuku, where Godzilla appeared from on top the skyline, to the famous robot restaurant.
So, yep, this is inside Robot Restaurant.
Robot time.
Robo Boys time.
The Robot Restaurant is a world-famous Japanese pop culture dinner and a show, and even for myself, someone who enjoys Japanese pop culture, the show was madness. But that won't stop me from attempting to give a summary of what happened. So the show starts with a bunch of Japanese cultural symbols such as drums, one-eyed turtles, and scary flame dances, followed by a samurai sword / paintbrush fight with epic lighting effects, followed by a short intermission to munch some grub. Then we launch straight into a wacky anime-like show where robots fought Earthlings and Kung Fu Panda got beat up. But then he turned giant and belly flopped the baddies. Then some anime noises happened. Bug Bitch appeared and was defeated by a robot with a sword too big to be called a sword. It was more like a heap of raw iron. Anyway, the minigun robot got forward, and then Slag from Transformers showed up and blasted the snake so hard that some of the wall monitors broke. After getting some of the wall monitors rebooted, Darth Maul did a funky laser dance, which was followed by some neon furries and robots, and then neon furries on one-wheelers. Anyway, some magical girls danced around for a bit before Nina and I got whiplash when the tune Mamma Mia started blasting while women on giant wheel dresses paraded themselves around with prancing backup dancers jumping to and fro. The show jumped from a romantic comedy song to a mass of nautical nonsense full of whales and fish fighting, and then the finale transitioned to dog robots, creepy giant dolls, and lots of flashing lights. So, yeah, that was overwhelmingly entertaining. Day 3, we jumped on a train and hustled our way through the bustling crowds of the Tsukiji Fish Market, where Japanese citizens come to buy fresh catches brought in by fishermen. I also got to look inside a Japanese knife shop, which was very cool, with walls of cases filled with high-quality cooking knives. After the brief dive into the fish market, we went to the Hamari-Kyu Garden, which was a vast open space that strongly contrasted the skyscrapers and the chaos of the city surrounding it. The garden was also home to the 300-year pine, which was planted in 1709 and is one of the largest black pines in all of Japan. Hiking past popular tea shops located directly on the seawater ponds that are scattered throughout the gardens, we then walked our way to a river cruise that took us back into the heart of Tokyo. At the end of our voyage, we got to see the Asahi Beer Hall, which was originally designed to look like a torch, but as nicknamed by even the Japanese people, it looks more like a golden turd. Along the way to a famous temple, we passed by Japan's favorite Christmas delicacy, KFC. Seriously, they reserve it for Christmas dinner weeks ahead, and is the nation's strongest Christmas tradition. There's a link in the description explaining more below. We had lunch in the Nakamise shopping center, which the meal consisted of mostly seafood, before walking past vendors selling more seafood, like octopus balls, to the very popular Asakusa Sensoji Temple.
Octopus balls? Yeah.
This is where I had the special interaction of having a Japanese citizen politely ask me to practice English with him. The conversation consisted of mostly basic information such as what's your name, where you're from. But when I told him I was from Detroit, he immediately perked up and said, "Oh, RoboCop." The final stop of the day was Japan's anime center, Akihabara. Here's footage of me blatantly ignoring our guide to drool over the sights and lights of this magnificent place. After being set loose from the rest of the group, we rushed to the place Nina really wanted to see, the Square Enix Cafe. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of their games, but it was really cool to see what a Japanese video game-based cafe looked like, and Chocobo? Akihabara was full of shops with walls covered in shining trading cards from all sorts of games, stores featuring figurines from popular anime and manga series, vending machines lined the halls with little collectibles you could get, and there was a couple of shops stuffed with body pillow covers and hentai doujinshi. For dinner, our tour group booked us a meal at a maid cafe, where we got to have a cutesy Japanese meal. Much like the robot restaurant, as well as the rest of Japanese entertainment, the maid cafe took advantage of Japan's naturally quiet and considerate culture to be extra loud and in your face. But they did have some yummy cutesy food. After being forced to take some photos with the maids, Nina and I decided to run around Akihabara a little bit longer before going back to the hotel. In our adventures, we discovered that some Japanese sex shops actually discriminate women and prevent them from shopping for any of the male-focused toys. So Nina and I said, fuck that, and found a Kirby Omatone to goof off with. Besides poking around a few more stores, that concludes day 3.